We are live. Welcome, I'm Avatar Slang. I'm your ultimate go-to for fiction, fandom, and nerd culture, where they collide with politics, society, and everything in between. Before we dive in, follow the podcast on Spotify or your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. You watching on YouTube? Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Sharing, reviewing, and spreading the word helps the podcast grow. For more nerdy content, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at avatar.slang. That's Avatar. And since I'm going to talk about a new movie, you gotta expect spoiler alerts. Okay, so Sinners. I'm about to get into that. Yeah, so watching Sinners reminded me why I consider Ryan Coogler a generational director. Sinners shares this, to me, it shares the same DNA as his other great movies. You know, like Creed, Creed 2, Black Panther. He did Black Panther 2, right? Yeah, Black Panther 2, Fruitvale Station. Those movies are all layered, culturally grounded, and emotionally sharp. And it doesn't sacrifice entertainment value. Coogler has a way of telling his stories that don't just entertain, they confront and they connect. Sinners felt like it was moving in that same space. It's a film that lingers with you. Like, everyone I talk to, they want to rewatch it, and I get it. Like, I think it's gonna be a rewatchable movie for probably the rest of our lives, to be honest. So to me, the tone was very unapologetic. It felt like an accurate portrayal of race relations at the time. It didn't romanticize post-slavery America, because a lot of times we talk about post-slavery. Like a lot of people can speak for this. You speak about post-slavery, and it makes it seem like things just instantly got better, or even post-civil rights movement, and that's not really the case. We also always see America, not always, but a lot of times we see America from the standpoint of the Northeast, like the East Coast, like from New England down to like maybe PA. And yeah, so I like that I think it took place in Mississippi. Yeah, so it pointed out that even north of the Mason-Dixon line, it was racist and still hard for black people, because in the movie, the twins portrayed by Michael B. Jordan, they went to Chicago, and they basically told their cousin who lived in Mississippi, was like, nah, don't believe what they say about the North. It's still bad. It's just, I think he said Mississippi with buildings, basically. Idea of not letting people into the cookout to disrupt solidarity, that was definitely present. I thought that's probably the main point of the movie. The idea that marginalized people in the Western world know how to come together and have a good time was definitely present when the twins put together a juke joint. They assembled people from the community to provide their services and talents for the joint. Like, they had Annie, I don't remember which one spoke and which one is Stack, because I only watched the movie once. But basically, they had Annie cook. They had the Grace, the Asian woman. They had her make the signs, the promo. So, just like now, like when you're doing any type of side hustle or business venture, you try to gather people with these talents first. So I like that. There were themes of how capitalism is a complex system for black people. This film shows the duality of the black experience as it's set in 1932 Mississippi, as I mentioned earlier. The film highlights how there's a lot of joy, but a lot of suffering in the black experience. The juke joint serves as a haven of expression and community amidst all the harsh realities of the Jim Crow era racism. This duality is further explored through the character struggles with faith, ambition, and survival. The crowd reacted to the scary movie tropes that were presented. The crowd reacted to the scary movie tropes that were presented, like when a character leaves the group and goes to a place alone. Like you hear people in the audience like, no, don't go. So I like that it kept that horror aspect, the typical horror tropes in it. Man, hold on, y'all. I lost my place. Side note, while I'm talking, being a talking head on a live video is different. It's different than having a guest talk to you, but I'm kind of used to it because I be making those reels all the time. All right, so I'm going to get to some of the themes that are present. Or no. Before I get into the themes, I'm going to talk about music as a spiritual thread. The music in this movie was great. Coogler did a great job showing how multiple genres and generations of black music across the African diaspora are deeply connected. So during the Juke Joint's opening night, Sammy plays transcendent blues music. Unknowingly, he summons the spirits of both past and future to join the entranced crowd. So if you've seen it, you saw there's that awesome scene when all the different genres of black music come together. This moment shows how black musical expression lives across time and how many genres are either born from blues or intersect with blues. That scene incorporates Delta blues, gospel, jazz, hip hop, rock, funk, soul, electronic music, and West African sounds. This film's soundtrack don't speak Gaelic, Choctaw chant, and West African Griot suite. I think that's a track that incorporated the because there was like an Irish dancing part too, and that was during the I don't remember when that happened. I only watched this movie once, but there's a lot of different cultures presented. Griots are West African storytellers and musicians who preserve oral histories through music and performance, paralleling the role of blues musicians in African American culture. By weaving West African elements into the film, Sinners illustrates the continuity of black musical expression from its African roots to today's sounds. This I can never say that word. Integration not only enriches the narrative, it also pays homage to the enduring legacy of African culture, shaping the soundscape of the black music. Sorry, the black the Black American experience. Music is one of those driving forces that connects black people through struggle. Sammy's performance invokes spiritual experiences, bridging the living and the dead. So the way I take that in real life is, for instance, it's kind of like when they say people live on through the art they leave. So when Sammy was playing the music and he conjured up the spirits by accident, his music even went to the future because that's a parallel for how black music over time connects us, like people past and present. So like I'm African, so I think I speak for a lot of us when I say that Africans living in America, they connect to black music first. And after living here or being born here, you see the correlations between African American culture and African culture. It's like how jambalaya looks a lot like jollof rice. So I like that Ryan Coogler made that a thing. It's almost like that meme that says Africans and African Americans only hate each other on Twitter, because I've seen plenty of situations where we're welcoming to each other. The casting, I'm going to talk about the casting now. The casting was perfect to me. Michael B. Jordan, I say he probably had his finest performance to date. I've always respected his talent as an actor, but he totally snapped in his role. I remember people used to complain that I don't think it was fair, but they did. A complaint did exist that Michael B. Jordan was he wasn't really acting the way everybody else was, but that's not fair because you had American and British people putting on an African accent while Michael B. Jordan was just using his regular American accent, the accent he's born with. So I don't think it's a fair comparison, but people were saying that he was the weakest actor in Black Panther. I don't agree with that. But with that being said, he proved that he's a great actor with his role. Like, I don't really care about awards, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was nominated for an Oscar for this. Hailee Steinfeld, she was perfect for this role. She was displayed in her skill, and she's displayed her skill in indie and big budget projects. Like the I liked her in The Edge of 17. I like her as Hawkeye, as the new Hawkeye. That's one of my favorite characters in comics in the MCU. Her playing a racially ambiguous girl is perfect. Like, ironically, right before I went to see this movie, my wife asked me what she's mixed with, and me personally, I thought she was just white. I mean, to me, she is. Like, that's why I see her as a white girl. So I googled her. I googled it right in front of her, and I find out her grandfather is black and Asian. Yeah, sure, that means she's mostly white, but it still explains some of the distinct features she has. And her racial identity clearly carried over into the racial identity of Mary, the character she played. Because there was a point in the movie when she said, she either said my grandfather was half black or mixed with black, something like that. Miles Canton, with his super deep voice as Sammy, perfect. As you could probably tell, he's a real life musician, so I hope I get to see more from him musically and film wise. My guy, the legend, Delroy Lindo as Delta Slim was awesome. He was naturally funny. He's like the funny uncle you always want to be around. Like, it wasn't forced humor, but he's kind of like the light in a dark situation. Like, I guess you could say behind his jokes, there's actual seriousness, but it's easier to function when you're not always panicky. So bringing a little light to a situation, it makes sense. I should have looked up how to pronounce her name, but I'm going to try. Wunmi Mosaku as Annie was great. I know her from the MCU. She's I don't remember her name because it's like a cold name. And she's in Loki, and shout out to Jamie Lawson, Jack O'Connell was the main vampire Remick, and Lee Jun Lee as Grace, Yao as Bocho. Like, I could go on and on about the cast, how good this cast was, but yeah, there's no weak points as far as casting and acting goes. Now the plot was awesome. There wasn't a single wasted moment. Everything that happened mattered to the message that Ryan Coogler was trying to get across. They did a good job building the world for the audience. Like in the first act, that's what it was. It was basically world building, setting, and I guess you could say like setting the table. You didn't have to be an expert on American history in the 1930s to understand this setting, and that's key. You shouldn't always have to be an expert on the topic on the film you're watching, and Coogler proves that here. You have to be an expert on everything before you go into a movie. I think movies should bring awareness to certain historical points. And if you want to look it up after, then do that. Like, a movie should want to educate or deliver a message as much as possible without sacrificing elements like plot characterization. And like I said, spark people to want to read more about that theme or historical context. Also, you don't want to sacrifice the entertainment factor because people still want to be entertained. It gave us a good view of what was I gonna say? Scratch that. After it built the world we're in the juke joint and all the nonsense goes down. The action was great, but it wasn't just random action. It was like really well timed. Like, a little bit of action would take place, then they'll stop, try to figure out the situation, then there'd be more action. And the choreography was like really popping. Like, it didn't seem it was very believable that these people could fight vampires. The themes, they were present in an interesting way. The film uses vampires as a metaphor for the exploitation of black artistry. The Irish vampire Remick and his undead band symbolize white institutions that commodify black culture, draining its originality and soul. I think it's interesting that they use the Irish person to do it because there's always been talks about how Irish people were servants back then, and back then they weren't really like looked at highly. So the idea that he was trying to get in with black people, that was interesting. That was an interesting take. So a theme that was present, the duality of, I talked about this a little bit earlier, the duality of black joy and struggle. Sinners, like I said, it presents the harsh reality that racism thrived even outside the South, and the juke joint becomes a symbol of joy born from struggle. A place where um, community, artistry, and culture thrives despite constant oppression. Honestly, you can say that correlates to today for some rappers because there's a thing that there's a lot of people who like black music more than like black people. Vampirism as cultural appropriation, Remick and his vampires, I think they might be metaphor for industry plans. Yeah, I think they might be a metaphor for industry plans. They're not just monsters, but they represent the labels and brands that feed off of black brilliance. The film also critiques how quickly cultural authenticity is drained the moment the wrong people are let in. That can probably go for a lot of cultures. I think the issue here is that a lot of people don't think that Black people try their hardest to preserve their culture. I don't know what I think about that right now because I think there's more to it than just that. Like maybe multiple things are true, but that's a conversation. Is more what I'm saying. Music as resistance and ancestral power. That was a thing present. Music in the music scene, the juke joint is a portal, a time-bending moment of ancestral power. Seeing these playing becomes a cipher that brings together the past, future, and every sound in between. Music is shown as memory, protest, and legacy. Capitalism and marginalized labor is a theme I've noticed. The juke joint isn't just a party, it's a business. It's built from the community, labor, and Black entrepreneurship. But even that dream faces the risk of being co opted, burned down, or drained dry. That tension plays out across history and now in the film. Again, I'm sorry, I don't remember which twin is which. I should just look that up. You know what? Let me look that up. Okay, which one's smoking, which one's stack? Sorry, I'm on Wikipedia right now. How do I find that out? I'm in the plot overview, so I'm skimming real quick. Okay, as I'm reading, I realized they were working for Al Capone when they were up north. Okay. So yeah, they stole the money from Al Capone. Okay, I'm reading through that real quick. If I could just find which one needs to go with Mary, the white girl, then I will be able to move on. But I can't. That's what I get for trying to read live. Alrighty, no big deal. Basically, one of the twins, they were like, he was probably a capitalist at heart, but I get it. He's just trying to make it. Like I think there is a difference between trying to make a living and being a total capitalist. Because a total capitalist will do anything for money. They'll sell out. They'll sell themselves out. They'll sell people out. So I think he could have maybe been on that path, but I don't think I can definitively say he was ruined by capitalism. Hailee Steinfeld's casting as Mary reflects racial ambiguity and how identity could be weaponized depending on the proximity to whiteness. She straddles multiple worlds, and the story explores the tension that comes with it. And she knew that because she's in with the Black people. They consider her to be family. That's fine. It's just that her crossing over into people that didn't have that community's best interests at heart kind of did her in. And I think that was the point. Don't get me wrong, like there's been times in history where white supremacy has hurt Black people, whether it was invited or not. So I think it's a complex conversation. I think the simplest way to have it is to say, I'm not saying white people, I'm saying white supremacy. White supremacy has came for Black people in just about every era they've in this country. Legacy, memory, and storytelling is another thing present. Griot tradition meets blues. Oral history meets visual storytelling. This film reminds us that survival in Black culture is about passing on stories. Music and memory become armor. So many times we've seen, like, you can say this with 80s hip hop, 90s hip hop. Music has been the voice for Black people even before that, though. So to me, this is quite literally a perfect movie. Like, perfect movie. Sinners belongs to the same tier as films like Scarface, Goodfellas, Avengers, Malcolm X, and Black Panther. The kind of classics that are endlessly rewatchable and culturally iconic. It's that kind of movie. And to circle back to my original point, I have Black Panther in the high tier. So Black Panther and Sinners are two modern classics. Ryan Coogler is like, maybe Ryan Coogler to us is who Spike Lee was to our parents. Because obviously we appreciate Spike Lee, but a lot of his classics came out and we didn't experience them firsthand. We experienced the repeats, not the repeats, the reruns, or I guess you could say, I guess we just weren't there for the cultural moment. Although we get it, we don't fully get it. So yeah, Sinners is definitely a rewatchable movie. 10 out of 10 to me. And I may rewatch it with Carmen on tomorrow or Saturday. But yeah, that's a wrap for today. If you're an audio listener, hit follow, leave a review, share the podcast. It's the best way to support. It helps more people discover the show. YouTube viewers, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. More listeners means more episodes, so spread the word. Want to go a step further? Support the podcast on buymeacoffee.com/avatar slang. Every contribution helps bring you more great content. The links are in the YouTube description, podcast description, and my Instagram bio. Stay connected on Instagram and TikTok at avatar.slang. Share your thoughts on today's topics. Thank you for being a part of the slang gang.